So, this is a warning. What you're going to see next might be quite confronting, or you might even call that scary. This is actual footage of me when I received my brand new iPad last year. I'm seriously in love with that tool, and as you can see, I'm like a 5-year-old that just got that awesome new push bike. But why did I buy Apple and not any other tablet? What did Apple do to specifically market to me? And you know, I have the full range. I have the Mac, I have the iPhone, the iPad, the iPod, not sure if people still use them. Who is like me? Who has the whole Apple range at home? Oh yes, I can see there is a bit of a pattern going on. So what does Apple do to make us commit and buy their brand? So I found that highly fascinating. And I did last year a bit of studying around marketing psychology and its effects, or psychologies and its effects on marketing. And I found out some really cool stuff. And I thought I'm just going to share some information in our conversation today. So as marketers, we constantly need to think like a user to create a connection. And the study of mind and behavior can help us to do a better job. So there's many tools available that we can use. Inbound marketing, for example, it requires us to create semi-fictional representations of our target group called buyer personas. I'm sure you all know that. So to create these buyer persona types, we need to think like our user. And thinking for someone else is extremely difficult. I don't know about your heads, but mine is pretty busy. So, but luckily we have a lot of tools that help us to do that. For example, we can use questionnaires, interviews, and focus groups. However, these things only bring us to a certain level and come with certain limitations. If we look at this chart from the Marketonist, and I think I saw a chart shared before, I love that guy, sign up for his newsletter. It's a typical target focus group scenario. People are asked, would you choose the tofu kale salad or would you choose the bacon cheeseburger? So our not quite so honest friend Pinocchio is like, of course I choose the kale salad. Maybe wanting to represent himself as a healthy person and asking for the donut at the same time. So what I want to show with this slide is the irony of focus groups. People often want to represent a different, maybe a better, or another picture, like a healthier you. So they would give a different answer. And sometimes we are not even aware how we actually react in those real situations. It's like me. I definitely didn't want to buy such an expensive iPad. And if you would have asked me before, I would have said no. So we are not rational. Plus, on top of that, we live in a world of big data. And I know we all embrace that as marketers. And that helps us and gets us really along building up an understanding of the online behavior of our target group. With all these tools and strategies, they're awesome. However, they mainly make us focus on the what are people doing, rather than get a better understanding of why are people doing the things that they're doing. So, if you use psychology and add it to digital marketing, you get a pretty sweet mashup. If you want to understand human behavior, you need to go back in history of psychology, especially the 50s and the 60s. They did some awesome experiments before ethical and moral considerations came into the way. Another element we want to look into is behavioral psychology. This is a much younger study, but still has been around for many years. It basically took economics and took economics on its head. Whilst economics looks at what people think, what people do in theory, like choosing the kale salad, behavioral economics looks at what people actually do, like eating the cheeseburger. So what we want to do is basically take the knowledge and insights out of psychology and economics, behavioral economics, and move that into our digital marketing mix and become smarter marketers. So over the course of that presentation, you probably see a lot of things that you're already doing. but I'm going to explain you the science behind that. And just as a bit of time and expectations management, I'm not going to talk about UX or how to optimize your website to get better conversions. This is a whole presentation itself, and I can only recommend dig into it. It's fascinating. You'll find yourself in front of your computer until 1 a.m. Good. But before we really go into those principles of persuasion, it's important for you to have a better understanding of our brain. So technology is constantly evolving. It's changing at a pace that we can't keep up. What's new today is actually already outdated. But when we look at our brains, they haven't changed in over thousands and thousands of years. The most recent product update, so to say, of our brain has been the neocortex. Anyone heard about the neocortex? Yes, no? So this is the front part of our brain. And if you look at those slides, you can see that the shape of the heads of our ancestors has changed. Because we have much bigger brains now that need way more space, so our forehead has changed. So this neocortex is responsible for rational thinking. It's the conscious thinking. But what we often don't know is that actual decisions are made way before we think we are taking that decision. So we think way less than we actually think we think, if that makes sense. So in order to understand where decisions come from, we need to look into the much older parts of our brain, which are around here in the center, and have an understanding that we actually have a switch that can easily be flicked. So when we are operating in our normal life, we're operating from the parasympathetic nervous system. We are happy, it's the rest and digest, we feel in control, life is awesome. But then, as soon as you flick that switch over to the sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight and flight system, we get anxious, we want to make things quick. And to understand how we can flick that, this is the true gold for us as marketers. And you're going to hear more about that over the course of the presentation. So the 4 principles that I'm covering today are anchoring, reciprocity, social proof, and scarcity. And probably if you've majored in psychology, you've heard of these principles. Principle 1, anchoring. Anchoring is a cognitive bias, a so-called heuristic. And now you need to listen carefully. I'm just going to explain you briefly what a heuristic is. The psychology dictionary says it's a mental shortcut that our brain creates to help us people to take decisions and make judgments faster and more efficient. It's rule of thumbs that we build up over time to actually make us operate in our daily life. Otherwise, we would constantly think and rethink and rethink. So that's a heuristic. And anchoring is such a heuristic principle. It's the common tendency of humans to rely too much on the first piece of information that we see. And this is, for example, the reason of many financial woes, and you're going to hear that in a sec. And I just shared it with an example. Take 3 bowls of water, cold, lukewarm, and hot. Take your left hand, put it in the cold water, your right hand in the not too hot water, and leave it there for 30 seconds. Wait and stir. Take them out and put both hands into the lukewarm water. So what happens? The one that was in the cold water will feel nice and cozy now. The one in the hot water will feel colder. So I guess what I want to say here is it's all a matter of contrast. When we look at pricing, nothing is expensive or cheap. It all matters on what we compare it to. For example, if there is a $150 burger on a menu, the $50 steak looks quite cheap. And another example, I recently went for some reason, into a Ralph Lauren store, and I saw a handbag for $16,459, which made the $95 plain white t-shirt look fairly cheap. And that's anchoring. What we see first is what we anchor in our brains. All right, Sorry, Android users, I'm just a big fan. And Steve Jobs' launch of the iPad is a brilliant example of how to use that in pricing. What shall we price the iPad as? He asked. The pundits say it's $1,000, which is the code for $999. So on the launch day, he went on stage, dramatic, and he said, "Today, I'm very excited to announce that the price for the new iPad is not $999, but $499. Big $999 came up, crashed, $499 on screen. But what he had done, the value in the minds of the attendees was already attached to $1,000. So everything that is cheaper is an awesome deal. Everything that is more expensive, not such a good deal. And experts in this are, for example, like online retailers, companies like ASOS, or the Amazon of the universe, Amazon, the warehouse of the universe. So they're really amazing. I'm going to give you another example, which is not related to price. But first, I want to do a little experiment. And, I ask you to be part of that. Close your eyes. Don't be shy. Nothing's going to happen to you. Close your eyes. Take your hand up and mentally grab half a piece of lemon. Take your hands up. Can I see hands? Take half a piece of lemon, put it to your mouth, and squeeze that lemon into your mouth. Oh, yes. I love to see those, lemon faces here. Thank you very much. Well done. So I guess you've created some saliva in your mouth, right? And this is based on your previous experience, what squeezing lemon juice in your mouth will do to you. And that's what we want to achieve as marketers. We want to trigger a thought that brings up a memory and experience that makes our target group take certain actions. I'm not sure about you guys, but when I look at that, I smell bread. I smell the fresh croissant. I smell coffee. And scent marketing is another beautiful example of how brands use anchoring for their products and services to create an enhanced customer experience. The goal of this is to make people have a memory or create a memory of an experience that makes them come back and stay loyal to the business. So, for example, industrial scents are something that is considered as like unpleasant. And maybe you've been to a business meeting where you could not quite put your finger on, I don't know why I did not enjoy that meeting today. And it might have been because you smelled cleaning products. And it's been proven that people prefer doing business with businesses that smell nice. Let's be, for example, in a bookstore, if you go to a bookstore and it smells like books, you're probably going to go, have a quick look and leave. But imagine you go to a bookshop and it smells like popcorn or apple pie or chocolate brownies. Would you browse? Would you stay, linger around and buy a book? Yes, and you'd definitely come back. Principle number 2, reciprocity. It's human. Hello? Okay, here we go. It's human nature to dislike being indebted by others. And in order to leverage that principle, you need to make sure you have something valuable to offer. And I'm pretty confident that I can say 100% of the marketers in this room have used that principle with like content and free white papers and things like that. And now I'm going to share you a little bit of the secret chambers of ReachLocal and how we are actually leveraging that. So there is a thing called our free digital health check, reachlocal.com/health check. It's also in this, gift bag that is offered today and sent to you. All that businesses or business owners or marketers need to do is go on that site, put in your company's URL, first name, last name, email address. Within 2 minutes, an automated report is generated. Analyzes your online presence. It gets information. Is that working properly here? Through our interface from various publishers. It talks about your listings, how well you do, your social media, your SEO, and you get it in your inbox and you can understand, where your gaps are and improve. And our target groups considers that as value. And fair enough, they're happy to be open and have a conversation with us. So it's a give and take, fair deal. Another thing that we did recently was, we were like other businesses, unfortunately, we also lose clients every now and then. But like, how can we get that conversation rolling with them? So we did a campaign called our donut campaign. We had handcrafted donuts delivered to them, branded, and a little card saying, "You do not know how much we miss you." Very funny, I know. But they loved it. It was something emotional, something they could share, and they were happy to receive our phone. So they considered that as value. Any iconic lovers users? Yeah. If you go onto their website, you sign up for their newsletters, you get $20 on your next purchase. Fair deal, right? We all know what we're getting ourselves into. We're going to be marketed. But is that worth for me $20? Sure is. Social proof. So I'm going to start this one with an actual confronting example, like really confronting, not like my stupid iPad photo. But I want you to show how far people will go when it comes to social proof. And yeah, those of you who know a bit about psychology might have heard about that. Has anyone ever heard about the case of Kitty Genovese? Kitty Genovese was a young American lady who walked home late one night. She passed a couple of apartment blocks. Windows were open, veranda doors were open, people were talking. She got attacked by an assailant called Moses under a streetlight. And she screamed and she yelled for help. And apparently even a guy came out and screamed down from the balcony, "What's going on there?" And Moses took off. He eventually came back and killed Kitty. The tragedy of this story is that reporters and police think that about 30 to 40 people must have heard of the incident. And nobody took action. Why is that? And there's an interesting principle called social proof. It's another heuristic. Remember the mental shortcuts we do? It prevents our brains from getting overloaded because in critical situations or uncertain situations, what we do is we look at our peers. Oh, are they taking action? If they're not, we consider that as the right thing to do. If they do, we consider that as the right thing to do. So no one took the first step to save Kitty, and no one else followed, obviously. So yeah, quite tragic. But yeah, there's different ways how we can actually leverage that in marketing as well. And I'm going to show you a little bit of a softer example now. I'm going to show you two restaurants. Restaurant A, Restaurant B. Show it again. Restaurant A, Restaurant B. Who would go to Restaurant A? Please raise your hand. Restaurant B, please raise your hand. Very shy raises of hands, but I see the majority. It's the same thing, right? Would you go to an empty restaurant? No, you want to go where other people are. Or just think about, your daily commute. When you're at the train station, you go where the crowd is because you think that's where the door stops. But that's actually not true. So the question is now, how can we leverage this in digital marketing? And there's plenty of options, guys. And please don't be shy to share that and shout it out into the world how awesome you are. I want to show you how we do that at ReachLocal because we are very proud of what we do. So for example, we have an average rating on online listings of 4.5 stars. This is great, right? So we obviously put that straight on our website. So when users come, they see, oh, right, I think I can trust these guys. They seem to be pretty awesome. So the next thing that you can do is, make sure your listings are in place. And you actually have a reputation management in place that nurtures those listings. If we look at our Sydney team, they're actually ranking above average with 4.8 stars, so 21 reviews. So just imagine, how do we search and research for things? We ask Google or Google Home or Bing or whatever platform, and we want to see those reviews. And the same happens with our target group. Obviously, be on social. Here's an example of Facebook. Look at the conversation. Make sure you build up conversations, because that's the thing that the target group will follow. But it's not rocket science. It's just more getting it again, an understanding of why this is important. And also, you can build that into your search strategies, for example. So we are an award-winning company. We're super proud of that. And we've created a search campaign. You see the little ad sign, where you can actually see 4.5 stars, online ratings. So some tools for you to think about. Principles for scarcity, can never say that word, fear of missing out. So there is, at the most basic level, there is 2 drivers of human actions. Decrease pain, increase pleasure. Woo! That's what we do, and that drives all of our actions. So when we perceive something as limited or not, only one item left, we get scared, right? So this scary scarcity is a really big thing, and don't underestimate how you can play with that. Remember the switch that I mentioned before? Move people into this sympathetic nervous system where they create this instant urge to react and buy. And that's a very a beautiful example of how you can do that. Because, fair enough, it's supply and demand. Where there is less, we put a higher value to it. And there is obviously, online retailers are doing a fantastic job of that, but I would probably say the heroes of that are booking systems. And if you think like, TripAdvisor, Expedia, Bookings.com, etc., they build up this urge for you to react straight away. And sure, anyone been to Queensland, Queenstown in New Zealand? Yeah, beautiful. I recently went there with my dad, booked way too late and wanted to find a hotel for Christmas Day. And this is what I was presented to on Bookings.com. And you see, they're doing a great job, right? They have the anchoring in place. So you get 2 different price points. What do you see first? What do you put your focus on? They have the social proof, because you see 2,500 reviews ranking that very good. So it must be an awesome place. And then they build up the FOMO, right? 2 people are looking at this right now, in high demand. Only 1 room is left. 2 are already looking at it. I'm not sure if I'm part of that or not. So they build up this urge, and you feel like you need to do it now. Because traveling is a scary thing. You need to be there at a certain time. You need to book flights. You need a place to sleep. So it can be quite stressful. That's just one example of how you can do that. But every business can create that sense of urgency. Put some extensions to your search ads. Say, whilst stock lasts, limited stock only. Or put it on your ad creative. Say, limited time only, etc. All right, coming back to where we started. Sorry to scare you again with myself. This is what I consider Apple had done to me, and maybe to you as well. Anchoring. When I first went into this flashy Apple store in Sydney, I was like, wow, the iPad, this is like whatever, $4.99, or awesome base price. But I ended up paying like at least double the amount, because I was like, I want a higher data, I want like this gadget, and I want that extra, and I paid a lot more money. But my value was still perceived as amazing because I wanted those extra gadget. And in my brain, I'm still focusing that I kind of only paid half of what I actually paid. The second thing is reciprocity, whatever, I can have another hard English word. My first Apple gadget was the MacBook. I went to the Apple store, and they were like, hey, we give you free trainings, you can learn how to create nice designs and stuff like that. So I was like, wow, they're doing free stuff for me. And over the years, whenever I got back, I just got outstanding service. I got free batteries that were even out of warranty for my iPhone. And what I give them in return is my absolute loyalty to them. Social proof, principle 3. I don't think I need to say anything about that. I'm not sure why it's so amazing to be part of the Apple cult and think having a fruit on your gadget makes you like a cool person. But yeah, it works, and it's what they're doing with their brand. And principle number 4 is the scarcity. So that might be different from how you are as a user. For me, it was more like, oh, you know, they might bring up a new one and that comes with a new price point and I really want to get it now. Whereas if you're more like an early adopter type personality, you might get, you know, these crazy people who are in front of the store at like 4 a.m. with a tent and queue because it could be sold out. So that's how they create that. Looking back, what you heard today: anchoring, reciprocity, social proof, and scarcity. Use these tools. It will make you smarter, more efficient, and more successful in your daily operations. I know that was a lot of content. I'm Isabell, leading marketing of ReachLocal Australia. Connect with me on LinkedIn or send me an email if you have any questions, or grab me around. I'm with this awesome lady, Nicole, at the background. You're going to hear her later. And yeah, have a good rest of the day.